This episode was pure hype. That is the best way to describe it. And don't get me wrong, the writing and the action choreography, everything like that was really well done, but it's hard not to come up here and say, this is Demon Slayer at its most hype. That is really the best way to sum it up. There's certain episodes of the series that, even before looking at Twitter or the internet in general, you know there's gonna be those hashtags trending. Demon Slayer, insert episode number or title here. You know the Reddit karma's gonna go crazy. And these are the types of episodes that, on paper, an outsider looking in are gonna say, oh, people just like it because look at the flashy whatever, the flashy swordplay, things like that. But these are just small portions of what makes the story great, but it's hard not to feel like a kid on Saturday morning turning on the TV to watch your favorite superheroes kick some ass and take some names, and that's what this episode delivered. Tanjirou was enough to make this episode memorable. I mean, the sun-breathing techniques, the literally pushing past limits, I really like the detail that pretty much the reason why everything was in slow-mo, the fact that he really was, he went from 0 to 1,000 real quick. He literally wasn't breathing. He was going at that just with one single breath, and literally, you could argue if he would have just continued, it would have been over, but so too would have his life. And I like that detail with his family still pulling him back, reminding him to, well, as simple as it may be, but to breathe. Then you have Nezuko pop up, and then you see her badass form. What a save that was. Tanjirou, I think most people watching this episode probably are like, oh, okay, Tanjirou's not going to win the fight, but he's definitely going to push her to her breaking limits. Then probably Tengen will pop up, and then, we'll have like maybe a 4v1, something like that. We'll Muzen pop up, and instead we just are about to get to Tanjirou's death, and then Best Sis arrives, doing the impossible. She's losing limbs left and right, yet she's regenerating despite not eating humans, so that's not something that should occur. But Nezuko is not a normal demon, right? She's still connected to the human realm, and I mean, when you mess up with her brother, I mean, it's kind of like Tanjiro, like, the gloves come off and you don't mess with family, especially this family. And to see her with the horn, the more muscles, I mean, we went from Daki in this episode looking down on Tanjiro to then almost fearing Tanjiro to the point of looking like she wanted to run away. Yes, when Tanjiro went down for the count of trying to catch his breath, she pretty much switched tunes like she never was actually scared, but we know damn well she was. And then you see an even worse fear when she goes up against Nezuko and she just seems like she's gonna kick her ass. And I love that about this episode is that just when you think it can't escalate further, it does. And something that I mentioned in the last video, and I think I mentioned it before as well, is the fact that, despite this being a shorter arc overall, I think it's going to be 11 episodes total for the Entertainment District. The fact that the fight kicked off so soon, you have to ask yourself, well, what's going on here? Is the fight just going to last a very long time? Is there going to be a surprise twist like with the Mugen train? You're like, okay, you defeated the train, that was rather easy, and then the true boss fight begins, and then the even truer boss fight begins. So you start questioning the escalation of this arc. And this episode really proves why kicking off the action so soon makes it worthwhile. You go from having Tanjiro's back pushed against a wall to Tanjiro pushing her back against a wall, to then having Nezuko of all characters pop up as literally they're setting up in this episode that the reinforcements would have been Tengen, right? They literally were like, okay, I mean, he's the one coming to Tanjiro. That will be his backup, so when she's about to kill him and finish him off, Tengen will be there, he'll make a remark, be like, hey, I'm Lord Tengen, I'm here. Inosuke will, a little bit cower in the background, because that's the one character that actually makes Inosuke shit his pants. But instead, you get the sister, and it makes so much more sense for their type of dynamic, and I have no idea what Tengen's gonna say when, maybe he stumbles in on this type of action, but who the hell knows? This is, without a doubt, I think the best episode of this arc, and I think we're in the moments now where I would not be shocked in the slightest if next week comes around, and, I think it's like episode 19 or 20 from the first season, that one episode where that just kind of broke the internet. I feel like this episode mixed with probably next week's episode is going to be up there in hype levels of people just being like, that is Demon Slayer. You're going to show that one episode to someone who's like, I don't really like anime, and they're going to see that and be like, oh shit, what's a Demon Slayer? I need to catch up on that. That's just kind of what these select episodes do, and it almost feels like there's always one moment or one episode per season if not a couple of them, that really sell Demon Slayer's excitement. I mean, Mugen Train's a little different because initially it was a movie, but I think when it's now brought into like the TV format, there's like 2 or 3 moments that are just like, holy shit, that is the craziest shit ever. And I like that Demon Slayer never feels like it's trying to one-up itself, but it always is like aware that it needs to find a way to be exciting without pulling things from thin air. And that's what made this episode remarkable. The animation, incredible. The sun breathing with the different flame attacks that he was calling out was amazing. The fact that they used the slow-mo with the 3D kind of obis, the sashes there, and just seeing how enraged he was, you knew something was off. And then when he finally caught his breath, seeing like the gasping, the veins popping from his neck, holy shit, was incredible. But I think my favorite animation moment, which was also one of the most horrifying moments I think the anime has seen to date, is when initially Tanjirou is trying to get the civilians to go back inside. Makes complete sense. I like that little detail of literally you have someone screaming on the streets. It's only natural that people would be like, hey, keep it down, we're trying to sleep. And the fact that when trying to save and protect, you get the most chaotic annihilation I think we've seen in quite some time. They went brutal with it. It wasn't just like a couple of rocks on a dead body, like there was blood everywhere. There was like women looking down at their loved ones covered in their blood as a rock covered where their face once was. As you have Tanjiro wounded and gravely injured, and then you have this man with no arm that he was trying to protect. I mean, Demon Slayer didn't need to go as hard as it did in that scene. It easily could have been, okay, yeah, the buildings are destroyed, and, you focus for like a second on the death of the innocents. But they like lingered on that. They literally like just kept focusing, and each time they focused more on the innocent civilians, I feel like the more nauseous I got, being like, okay, this is really bad. This is what I love about settings, because when you compare, say, the forest arc, right? The forest, it doesn't really matter about collateral damage. The trees are going to fall over, but you're not really worried about the bunnies in the background, right? You're saying, holy shit, they need to survive. When it comes to the Mugen Train, or even this red light district, right? There is innocent civilians, and it's very easy to forget there was innocent civilians in this fight because it's nighttime. They're asleep. They're not really participating. It's not like the train where they're actively in the foreground. And then when you see what can happen with one wrong move, it's like not like Tanjiro did anything wrong. If had he done nothing, probably more people would have died. But it is a reminder of just how dangerous this job is. And I mean, seriously, I don't know if this will be the last we see of collateral damage, but Demon Slayer, incredible this week. Easily a 10 out of 10 episode, but I mean, Demon Slayer usually has pretty damn perfect episodes or close to it. Even when it's not action-packed, it's hard not to get a laugh out of it, hard not to appreciate the smaller moments. Seeing Rengoku's father once again, literally admitting to his faults while also praising Tanjiro, but Tanjiro feeling like, these things that he's mentioning, my father was born with, the scar on my head, I got burned because something dropped on my head. But the idea that he's not running away from it, like those are the defining Tanjiro moments for me, where you look at his character and you understand why he is so popular. It's not like he's saying, I'm a failure and I don't have my father's gift, so I'm just going to feel down. He's like, I don't have it, but I can't run away. This really shows the progression of his character over a couple of seasons in a movie, and that's just the beginning of where he'll go as a person. I could talk about this for another 10 minutes, but I'll cut it short here. Let me know your thoughts and feelings down below. Favorite moment, what do you think is going to happen next week? If you don't know the manga, leave a like if you enjoyed and subscribe if you're new around here. So until next time, everyone, please take care and have a good one.